I want to start the hour with some Saints discussion. They finally made it to the bye week. This is something that we were looking at really all of the offseason, summer into training camp as a potential line of delineation between the beginning of the season where you're really trying to figure out just like what you got. We don't know what we got at quarterback. We don't know what we got at head coach. We don't know what we got in terms of all these rookies. What do we got? We don't know. And you got a tough start that involves some really difficult road games. You knew it was going to be tough to go on the road to Seattle. Knew it was going to be tough to go on the road to Buffalo. Now it's a chance to reset. We had pointed really to this week as the week for Tyler Shough potentially to take over, depending on how the early portion of the season went. And now we're here. And the win-loss record's terrible. The quarterback change has been made. Some of the returns on the young players have been positive. Some of them have been negative. And you've made a couple of significant trades in terms of your current roster. You traded away a starter on the offensive line and your most explosive pass catcher. So the circumstances are different now than they were in August. That's fair to say. But you look at the second half of the schedule, and it's extremely manageable. You can manage games against the Titans and Jets and Panthers. You've got home games that you feel like you should have a chance to compete in, even if they're against teams that have a better record than you. So you've reached a point now where we can kind of reset expectation based on what we know. Tough to set expectations for this team August the 3rd. I don't know who the quarterback is. I don't know what the coach does. I don't know how well the defense is going to take, especially with all those veterans too. Brandon Staley, I don't know what their injury status is going to be. There's so many variables. You know it's not going to be great, but like what can you really pinpoint? Well, now we've got more to look at. And of course, that discussion is going to start with Tyler Shough, and I'm willing to have that discussion now. Like, what are you looking for? Well, first, let's look back at what we saw in his start. I watched it every snap, and I liked what I saw. I thought he was efficient, thought he was effective, thought he took some shots down the field, thought that he moved the offense. Am I going to go nuts and throw an absolute jubilation of a party because they scored 17 points? No. But the passing chart I very much enjoyed. Here's why. I've got it pulled up for Pro Football Focus, and I'll talk you through it. He only threw 2 passes behind the line of scrimmage. Only 2. One outside the numbers, got blown up for a loss of 2, and one inside the numbers that went for 26 yards. But if you remember, with Spencer Rattler early in the season, it was just too much. Too much dink and dunk, dink and dunk, dink and dunk. That's all you saw. Take a shot. It just wasn't happening early. Well, Tyler Shough wasn't just dinking and dunking. He only threw the ball inside behind the line of scrimmage twice. Now you look at the next set of passes, which is under 10 yards, between the line of scrimmage and 10 yards. These are your quick passes, your quick game, your screens just beyond the line of scrimmage, your quick outs, your short yardage throws. And he was very efficient with those. 0 to 10, he was 11 of 14 in the game. And got the ball out quickly where it needed to go. But it wasn't all that he did. Because if you look beyond 10 yards, he was 4 of 5 between 10 and 20 yards, one of the touchdowns to Juwan Johnson. And then if you go between 10 yards and further, so longer than 10 yards, he really was effective. He was 6 out of, let me make sure my math's right, 6 out of, that's 7, 6 out of 10, and had a pair of touchdowns, including the deep ball to Olave for 62 yards. If you look at throws beyond 20 yards down the field, he hit a pair of those, and they combined for 104 yards. So he didn't just dink and dunk like you saw from Rattler. He did stretch the field. He did hit big plays. He was fairly effective at all levels of the field. So that's a tiny sample size. Tiny in one game against Carolina. But it's encouraging, and it's a difference from Spencer Rattler. So to me, as I look at Shough, I want to see him continue to hit all levels of the field, hit big plays, and be efficient when you are checking it down. And to me, you're going 13 of 16 total, under 10 yards, and you're hitting 2 big plays down the field. I like that rhythm. I like that chart. I like all those things when it comes to running the offense. So I like that from Shough. I want to see a little bit more of that in the second half of the season. The other guy I wanted to profile today in terms of looking towards the second half of the season is Kelvin Banks. Kelvin Banks has played 641 snaps at left tackle for you to this point. If you just look at his Pro Football Focus grades, respectable. 68.3 overall in blocking, 67 overall in run blocking, 68.9 in pass blocking. One thing that stands out there, it's all balanced. It's all pretty good. I know we've got a portion listening to this that really only does Saints, got a portion listening to this that listens to the whole show, terrestrial radio, does LSU and Saints. The Pro Football Focus grades, when we talk about LSU and talk about the Saints, are very different. College kids have higher grades. They're playing against lesser competition at times. You see a lot of 70s and 80s and even into the low 90s at times. That's very, very, very rare in the NFL. You live in the upper 60s, low 70s, high 70s, up to 80. That's quality work. And Kelvin Banks has given you that in the run game and the passing game. There's one area I would really like to see Kelvin Banks clean up. He has been flagged 7 times. It's not even once a game. I need that number to come down. And I think that's realistic when you consider that he's gaining experience and he's now seen more than he did early in the season. Sometimes you're getting holding calls. Sometimes it's a false start. You got a guy across from you that's a really good pass rusher. You're trying to get a head start. Like, I get it. That's too many penalties. I like the blocking grades. When that ball snapped and you're asked to do a job, I like what he's doing to this point. Penalties need to come down a little bit for Kelvin Banks, and that's something I'm looking at. And as far as defense goes, there are a couple of young players who I think have really impressed to this point that you want to see more of. I love Danny Stutzman and the way he has played the run. It's something I've noticed on tape. Not on when I'm watching the games. And it's something that Pro Football Focus agrees with. 76.1 in terms of his run defense. Tackling's got to improve a little bit. It's only a 47 grade, and I think he's going to get more snaps. You've only seen 63 total snaps in 6 games from Stutzman. I think that number might double in the second half of the season. It would not surprise me to see Stutzman finish with somewhere in the neighborhood of 180 snaps this year. I'm looking at that linebacker spot. I'm looking at an aging Demario Davis, who, by the way, played brilliant football in Carolina and still has something in the tank and should be out there to show young players how you're supposed to play down in and down out and to help this team to try to win games. But I think you're going to see Stutzman more. And I love the way he's played against the run. And then I just need more consistency from Jonas Sanker on the defensive side. Like, some of the grades are good week to week. Some of the playmaking has been good. He's been around the football for some turnovers. Also, his tackling grade at this point is 29.5. That's got to improve. You can't miss that many tackles. He's at a missed tackle percentage right now of 18%, and they're crediting him to this point with 10 missed tackles. That's second on the team to Demario Davis, who, oh, by the way, is in way more often and way more reps than Jonas Sanker, so that's to be expected. So that's kind of a rudimentary checklist of what I'm looking for New Orleans. Shough, I want to see all levels, not just checkdowns, all levels be efficient. He was in this game. And then I want to see Banks limit those penalties, continue to play at the level he is outside of the penalties. And then defensively, more from Stutzman in terms of reps and tackling, better tackling from Sanker. I'm cutting these things down into little bitty sample sizes. Like, I'm cutting these things down into small things you're looking for. I don't think it's realistic to look at this and go, well, I look at the Saints in the second half and go, I think they should win 5 games. Easy now. Like, they got to do a lot of things to build towards that. And I'm looking at young players. Shough's the most important. Banks is probably second. Then you look at these young defensive players that are going to end up having to be the heir apparent to some guys that have played a lot of football. That's what I'm looking to see over the second half of the season for the New Orleans Saints. Now, Not to put everything on Pro Football Focus, but it's a good tool that I have. And now the sample size is big enough with half the season in the rearview mirror, which you're looking at 10 games here. Okay, what do we got? And that's what I'm looking for in the final 7 games of the season for the Saints. Hey, it's Hunt. Thanks for watching Hunt on Saints. Before you leave, help us out a little bit. Hit that like button, leave your comments in the section below, and hit that subscribe button so you get all our content right here from Hunt on Saints. We'll see you next time.